The Palm Beach County School Board to order. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
District 1, Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
District 2, Chuck Shaw. Here. District 3, Karen Brill. Here. District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
Okay, we have quorum. Also at the dais with us this evening is our Inspector General, Lung Chu, our Superintendent, Dr. Fenoy, and our County Council of Student Councils President, Nolan Ursoy, and our General Counsel, Julie Enrico. It gives me great pleasure to get started by introducing the Lake Worth Community High School Air Force, JROTC, who will be presenting the flag. And here to sing the national anthem is a student chorus from Palm Beach Central High School performing under the name Traditions. Would you all please stand? Mrs. Rico, would you start us in the pledge when the flag is here, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Forward. March.
Great job, everyone. Thank you. We'd like to acknowledge the principal of Lake Worth Community High School, Dr. Elvis Epps, and the principal of Palm Beach Central High, Darren Edgecombe, whose students performed here this evening. Thank you again. I would like to remind district staff and my fellow board members that this meeting is being transcribed in real time so that it can be viewed with closed captions by people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Please speak at a reasonable pace so that the people transcribing the meeting can fully capture what you are saying. We need a motion to review and approve the minutes. Motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. Andrews. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Superintendent, items added for good cause?
No, items added for good cause, I'm sorry. BRD 3, LD 2, P2, P3, REG-N1, and TL 4.
And are there any items you're withdrawing?
No, sir, there are nothing to withdraw.
And Board Clerk, you show only one item's been pulled so far, FMPF1, correct? We need a motion to approve the agenda as modified. Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Brill. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. My colleagues have any disclosures or abstentions? Seeing none, superintendent comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the privilege of attending the HBCU HSI College Fair today at the Convention Center. It was so inspirational to see all of our students receiving acceptance letters and scholarship money to attend post-secondary institutions. This year, we had 23 universities and colleges that were present. Over 1,200 students of our students attended. Over 1,700 total acceptances were given out, and over $11 million in scholarships were awarded. I'd like to say congratulations to the whole Department of Curriculum and Counseling for putting that on together. I also want to talk about the major progress that is being made to the district's portion of the penny sales tax. In the past month, 29 school buses have been delivered to the district, and 11 more will arrive next month. That means that we will have added 80 new buses to our fleet this year. This is in addition to the 60 patrol cars also added to school police. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's even more. Students and staff at more than a dozen district schools are more comfortable thanks to new air conditioning chillers that were recently added. And while we were away at winter break, crews were hard at work at 20 campuses upgrading security and modifying buildings. Crews updated bathrooms, installed new floors, painted, replaced ceiling tiles, and upgraded roofs, among other things. I want to take a moment to commend the Facilities Department under the leadership of our Chief Operating Officer, Wanda Paul, for keeping these projects on schedule and managing this momentous task. I'm also thrilled to report that we have just learned that 532 Palm Beach County students were designated as ACE Scholars. 6 Palm Beach County students earned the top scores in the United States for their performance on this test. These students are Emma Brewer from Wellington High School, Joshua Harrison Seidman from Park Vista High School, Emily Hull from Boca Raton High School, Marina K.A. Mascalotis from Dreyfus School of the Arts, Brianna Birdsley from Olympic Heights High School, and Brianna McKnight from Park Vista High School. Please join me in congratulating these scholars. Something else to applaud. Ladies and gentlemen, our graduation rate has again reached a new high. Now we're at 91.7%. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. For the 5th consecutive year that our graduation rate is among the highest of all other large urban districts in the state of Florida. 20 of our schools have graduation rates that are 90% or higher. 3 schools, Dreyfus School of the Arts, Suncoast High School, and Village Academy, have a 100% graduation rate. Congratulations to principals Suzanne Atherley, Karen Wetzel, and LaToya Dixon. And I want to commend Palm Beach. Let's give them a round of applause, absolutely. I'm sending a special recognition to all the faculty and students at Palm Beach Lakes Community High School for a 4.6% increase in its graduation rate under the leadership of Principal Dave Alfonso. Let's give them a round of applause. Not to be outdone, Olympic Community High School received a 4.3% jump in their graduation rate under the leadership of Taro Campo. And Seminole Ridge Community High School with a 3.8% increase in its graduation rate under the leadership of Dr. James Campbell. If I said it before, one of the highlights of my first year as superintendent, actually the first couple of months, was shaking the hands of 14,000 students. Now, I will tell you, I ended up going to the chiropractor after that experience. But I am prepared. I'm much in better shape and better prepared mentally for that task. But it's such a heartwarming and such a wonderful thing we do as a school district. And so I'm looking forward to that, shaking another 14,000 plus hands as we get ready for graduation and we talk about exceeding our goals on our strategic plan. Finally, I'd like to congratulate our board chairman, Mr. Frank Barbieri, who recently received the Making a Difference Award from the West Boca Community Council for his tireless dedication and service to the community. He's also a real good person at keeping time if you ever have a meeting. So congratulations, Mr. Barbieri, well deserved. And thank you, and this concludes all of my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Board comments, Mrs. McQuinn.
I had so many incredible experiences over the last month that I'm going to save them up so that I don't have to hurry through them. Just before our winter break, December 13th, I had the privilege of visiting our Adult Education Center in West Palm Beach on Military Trail. And our director, Mr. Fred Barch, boasts being the largest school in our district as they serve over 5,000 students per year. Our entire adult and community education serves over 30,000 students at 33 sites. So these are primarily after-school programs, but the actual Adult Ed Center has 5,000 students a year. They provide ESOL classes, GED classes. They're also venturing into the area of adult vocational programming to help our parents with training for a career. And this was something I was especially excited about. Something that will be recognized tonight is the fall term had a 100% pass rate on home health care coursework, and all of the students were offered jobs. Our Adult Ed, I know this is cool. Our Adult Ed Center also helps with resume writing, interviewing, training, and job search. They are fast approaching being I can't say this without stuttering, a one-stop shop by offering health screening, credit counseling, and they also host an annual International Friendship Day. I'm particularly excited about what I learned in terms of our high school students who stumble through some of their later education, and we provide this opportunity for them to get their GED and to move into very personally rewarding careers. Particularly, I think it's important, and this is part of our strategic plan, that they help, our adult ed programs help to stabilize families through our adults. So I'm very proud of our adult ed program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Mrs. Whitfield?
Thank you. I'm going to talk about 3 things that happened this last week really quickly and hopefully not run out of time. So the first thing I want to mention is the beginning of the South Florida Fair. This year they did a heroes recognition, and they recognized police and firefighters, but also our teachers, which was really exciting. So I got a chance to be a part of that. In the morning we did the recognition for all of the students. We ended up with 2,200 students who ran in the Kids Mile, which is an unbelievable showing. 45 schools came, and that is just a ton of students and their teachers, and I wanted to recognize the efforts that it takes to coordinate something like that throughout the whole year. These teachers take time generally after school to get these students to exercise and run and really take their health into priority. So we have to recognize our extremely wonderful K-12 department under Diana Fetterman, Eric Stern, and many others there that I won't take time to mention, but so many people that helped, and also the South Florida Fair for hosting that. The second part of that day, and Mrs. Brill was there with me too while we handed out awards. I wanted to make a point to mention that. And then the second part of the day was the parade for Heroes for Education, and we had a lot of our award winners that were on the parade float with us, as well as Mr. Oswald, who was there with his family. And so that was really exciting to be a part of that, go through and wave at everybody and have so many people recognize the teachers that we had with us. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone there. Also, our police was on there with us, which was wonderful. Finally, there was a really special event that happened yesterday at Lake Worth High School. Dr. Epps has been doing such a great job of being out in the community and really bringing attention to Lake Worth High. And one of the things that happened yesterday was we had the Central Chamber brought a whole leadership crew to tour the school, and they did such a wonderful job. I just want to say thank you to the Central Chamber for taking time out to go visit Lake Worth High, and for all the staff over there for showing off what a wonderful job they're doing. He's one of the schools that has really brought up the graduation rate in the past few years as well, and I've just been very proud of the work that's happening over there, and I love that the community came in to see the things that are happening at just a traditional school, and the amazing things that are happening with technical education and certificate programs. So I was very proud of that, and I wanted to share and say thank you so much for all of those wonderful things that are happening in the district, and Happy New Year's. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Whitfield. Mrs. Brill?
Thank you. So yes, Saturday morning it was very exciting. I was out at the fairgrounds with Mrs. Whitfield. We were giving out awards to the students that ran in the Kids Mile run. The students and the runners were wearing these capes. They were running like superheroes. But I must have been having a rough morning. But I will not name the person that said this to me, and maybe I need to use some anti-aging creams, because he said to me, you know what you can do? You can turn it around and use it as a bib. So, and this is true, so I have to tell you that no, I am not going to use this as a bib, but there was nothing better than getting up early in the morning. To get me up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday takes a lot. But those kids were just wonderful, so thank you to everybody. I do want to mention that, you know, when my children were growing up, when there were bad things that happened either personally or in the world, I always used it as teachable moments. Sometimes those teachable moments are more difficult than others, and I really have to commend our district for the way that we have rallied around Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I don't know if any of you saw the news last night, but Mr. Barbieri was on the news talking about the 17 acts of kindness. I won't go into them now, but we partnered, and maybe he'll be talking about that. And we've also, I just got my T-shirt, which we're selling, which is also with the school district and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. $10 is the cost, and it's going to their foundation. I think I ordered a size too big. I might be able to wear it as a dress. But again, you know, it's these moments where we pull together and we act as a community that I'm so proud of. And finally, I do want to mention someone that's going to be recognized this evening is the School Counselor of the Year from my one and only high school, Park Vista Community High School, Megan Stair. But I also want to mention that for the last couple of years, I've been attending the School Counseling Advisory Council meetings, and it's no wonder she's the School Counselor of the Year. The fabulous things that are going on in that department because of Mrs. Stair, I really hope that we're modeling that around the state. I can tell you that from whether it's offering of scholarships and what they're doing to inform everybody about the scholarships available, to the other things they do to support the faculty, I want to say a special congratulations from my heart to Megan. Thank you.
Mrs. Andrews?
Thank you and good afternoon. I'd like to reflect a little bit on the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. As we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on Monday and throughout last weekend, it gave me a time to reflect how far we have come and how much farther we have to go to accomplish the dream and the vision of Dr. King. To see our children, schools, community, churches, and others participate in the activities to celebrate the life of Dr. King is always uplifting. Uplifting to me personally, but it's just uplifting to all of us who live in America. Your volunteering, your oratorical speeches, your parades, the church and community programs, the banquets, and the list goes on. We celebrate and remember in our own way. We're thankful to be here, to live and continue making the dream a reality. I want to personally thank the schools. I was in a lot of parades over the last few days. I heard a lot of oratorical contests. I was out there where the schools were participating. Thank you, schools, principals, and students for being out there to honor the history of Dr. King. And lastly, a quote from Dr. King. The function of education is to teach one, to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of true education. And as I sit here and say to everybody, Happy New Year, I know you're living the dream, and you're making the dream a reality. As I look here and I see the Village of Wellington, Village Council, Education Committee, and all the principals, you exemplify the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King as you continue to help all of the students here in Palm Beach County to improve and be academically successful with your Keeley Spinelli scholarships. It's an honor to know that we have to all come together, the church, the school, and the community, all of our elected officials, to make the dream come alive, to make it a reality. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson?
Thank you and good evening. So I have 4 things I want to cover in this limited time. So this is the first public meeting that we've had since the Pinellas IG report was issued. So here's my statement. Again, I sincerely apologize for the offensive remarks I made regarding radio station WPOM 1600 in August of 2018. I am profoundly sorry for having said them and for the harm they caused. I successfully completed the Florida School Board Association ethics training again in December of 2018, and I would like to thank my fellow board members for the confidence that you've shown in me. That's one. Number 2, I really want to thank Eunice Vivar, because she took what was a bus tour of HBCU alum that went from one high school to the next to an outstanding, fabulous event that our superintendent brags about in his opening comments. So, and that was really because of her, so I thank her. Number 3, I want to brag about the Palm Beach Lakes Rams Regiment Marching Band, who went, as you know, to the Cotton Bowl. But guess what? After they performed in New Orleans, they had to create a new category for an award for bands because they showed up and showed out, okay? And I think it's called Owning the Steps. Is that right? Owning the Steps? So I won't get into the details, but just know that they were so outstanding, they had to create a new category of award. So now, my 4th thing and last thing is my January Black History fact. So this event was known as the only coup d'etat that occurred on United States soil. It was the morning of November 10th, 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina, 2 days after a statewide election. By nightfall, the building housing a newspaper called the Daily Record had been burned to the ground. They say that back then, Wilmington, North Carolina was considered to be a black Mecca. It was a very prosperous city with blacks outnumbering whites. There were professionals and people in all of the trades and a rising black middle class. Now, by the way of backdrop, this was the post-Civil War era during Reconstruction. The Republican Party was biracial and many blacks had been elected to office. This was decades prior to the race-based realignment of the 2 major parties in this country that took place during the Civil Rights Movement. So according to NPR, and I quote, Southern Democrats lost power in North Carolina in 1894 and plotted to wrest control from the biracial Republican Party in the 1898 elections. Close quote. The election was on November 8th, and reportedly, white supremacy rallies were held and parades were organized of the red shirts to intimidate blacks from voting. The red shirts were the paramilitary branch of the Democratic Party. The statewide election restored Democrats to power, and 2 days later, the coup d'etat in Wilmington occurred. Again, according to NPR, on that night, a mob of white supremacists, reportedly around 2,000, with rifles and pistols, marched to the city hall in Wilmington, North Carolina, and overthrew the elected local government, forcing both black and white officials to resign and running many of them out of town. It's estimated between 90 and 300 African Americans were killed. In 2006, the 1898 Wilmington Race Riot Commission was formed to accurately document the history of this coup. History initially blamed the riots on agitated blacks in an inflammatory black newspaper. History now reports that a former member of Congress, Alfred Waddell, was the organizer of the mob. Reportedly, prior to the election, Waddell threatened that he would, quote, choke the current of the Cape Fear River, close quote, with black bodies. He became the mayor of Wilmington after the massacre. Furthermore, Charles Aycock reportedly was involved in planning this massacre, and he was elected governor 3 years later. Jim Crow laws were hurriedly passed, starting in 1899. Apparently, similar violence had been coordinated on that same day, where they burned black newspapers all over the state. It was planned. It was reported in the August 12, 2017 edition of Atlantic magazine that the North Carolina GOP executive director had recently tweeted about this long ago massacre, saying, quote, "The events of the November 10th, 1898 were the result of a long-range campaign strategy by Democratic Party leaders to regain political control of Wilmington at a time that the state's most populous city in North Carolina in the name of white supremacy." Interesting that he said that, right? So I guess we weren't supposed to recognize the difference between the current D's and the current R's, and then and now, but nevertheless. So it was planned, and it led to what one Yale professor referred to as, quote, a 50-year black hole of information. So I say all this to say that elections matter. Who you vote for matters. Coup d'etats don't just take place in small foreign countries. They also take place here in this country. And our students should know about this incident and our history in hopes that they never allow it to happen again. Thank you.
Mr. Shaw.
For over 60 years, Palm Beach County students have made the annual trips to Washington, D.C. And I wish I had been at the fair. This is the first time I missed the mile walk and thought about it on Saturday. But I just returned back from one of the trips. Some very interesting things for young people from South Florida. They got to see snow, and they had the experience firsthand to be there and have that experience, which many kids in South Florida may never see snow. Also, I know that many parents were concerned because with the shutdown of the federal government, whether or not the students would be able to have a trip that was as fulfilling as it usually is. The good thing is they did. The students were able to see almost everything they always see with the exception of the Smithsonian buildings. But since they couldn't do the Smithsonian buildings, they did see some places that they don't normally get to go to. But it was an amazing experience. And unless you've been on this trip and seen the work that the teachers put in to supervise these children, the planning that goes into these trips, the supervisors who go on the trips, the volunteer medical staff that are there on every single trip, it's something that's overwhelming. And I want to congratulate especially Jim Pegg and Jeff Pegg, who are the ones who really coordinate this, because it is an undertaking that this county should be proud of. And my guess is there are many people in this room who may have made that trip if you attended Palm Beach County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. The school board is very pleased that the 4th District Court of Appeals agreed with the board's position that the board enjoys sovereign immunity from the city of West Palm Beach's attempt to collect stormwater utility fees. This holding will save the board in excess of $280,000 per year in stormwater fees that the city was seeking to collect, and additional $320,000 that other municipalities in the county were billing the school district. This has saved the board $3.6 million countywide to date and $600,000 per year going forward. These are operating fund dollars that the board will be able to continue to direct toward educating students. A special thanks to Associate Attorney Sean Fahey in the Office of General Counsel for his stellar work on this issue and the oral argument yesterday. Thank you. I also want to shout out to Mr. Eric Stern. As many of you know, the graduations are at the fairgrounds. Eric Stern has done a fabulous job of coordinating those graduations for I don't know how many years, 6, 7, 8. He thinks it's a lifetime. Probably will be for him. Just a warning, Mr. Stern. But over the weekend, he coordinated the opening of the South County the South Florida Fair with the school district to have all of our students participate. So thank you, Eric, for another job well done. And finally, Mrs. Brill mentioned the 17 acts of kindness. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School is only a couple miles from our school district, just over the county line in Broward. February 14, 2019, Valentine's Day, will be the first anniversary of the horrendous and senseless mass murder of 17 innocent children and their teachers. On this Valentine's Day, a day traditionally set aside to show friendship and love, we remember that last Valentine's Day, a day filled with terror and hatred. How can you possibly create goodness from such evil and tragedy? Starting January 29th, our school district is launching the 17 Acts of Kindness campaign, our way of creating that goodness. From eating lunch with someone they don't know, to helping someone with a chore or task, to sending a Valentine's Day card to a person alone and lonely in a nursing home, the simple suggestions are for our 193,000 students to show sympathy and compassion, reminding them and us that kindness can overcome hatred and that they can find light in the darkest of nights. A tree will be planted on each of our high school campuses, as well as here at the district headquarters. In planting these trees, we remember the children and teachers we lost. And as we look at those young trees and see them blossom in the spring, we will be reminded of how precious life is and how important a task it is for the school board to enact policies to keep our children and educators safe from harm. For those who survived the Parkland massacre, this is our way to show them that we will remember a day they can only hope to forget. With that said, Mrs. Andrews, I believe you have a motion.
Thank you, and I'm asking for this point of personal privilege to make the motion to take BRD1 to ratify posthumous proclamation for Gettrell out of order at this time.
We have a motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Brill. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. So we need a motion to take the item out of order?
Yes.
That was the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation is to ratify the posthumous proclamation for Mr. Gettrell Singleton that was presented to his family on January 12th, 2019.
Yes, thank you. And may I have the privilege of saying a few words? His family is here today, and I'd like for the board to come down with me to take a picture. This was an outstanding, outstanding educational leader, a legend in the school district and a legend in the Glades community. Mr. Singleton was a former teacher and principal in the Palm Beach County School District, and he passed away on January 1st, 2019. He was hired as a fourth grade teacher in the Palm Beach County School District in 1951 at South Bay Elementary School. He also taught fourth and fifth grade at Rosenwald Elementary School from 1952 to 1955, and he became the principal of Rosenwald Elementary School and remained a principal there until 1983. He has a legend to remember for us as we look at education. He was also honored in the National Journal of Negro History as an honored Palm Beach County Black historian. And as we look at our educators from the past, we learn so much from them, and we honor him tonight. I'm asking his family, if you're here in the audience, I think you're here, please come forth so that we can recognize you. And it was my pleasure to read the entire proclamation at his funeral with praise and thanksgiving for all of the work he had done for the school district of Palm Beach County, and especially in the community of the Glades region. Please come down with me.
Okay, before we do that, they can come forward. No, come on forward. We just need a second on Mrs. Andrews' motion, seconded by Dr. Robinson. All in favor, all opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Now you can go to the floor, and please stay there. We have other presentations afterwards.
All right, good evening, Mr. Board Chair, board members, superintendent and staff, and community members. And this evening, we are proud to share with you 10 presentations. We begin with a recognition of the winners of the 3rd Annual Superintendent Holiday Greeting Card Contest. Now, you can see the cards over here to my right and to my left. For this contest, district students were asked to create a piece of art depicting their interpretation of the winter season in Florida's unique geography. Under the guidance and support of their art teachers, winners were chosen for their exceptional submissions, representing one student from each of the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Each of these students demonstrated exceptional creativity, and we are proud to recognize them this evening for their talent. We want to first recognize the elementary school winner from Verde Elementary School, who designed this adorable greeting card to my right here, showing fish, a turtle, and a dolphin with cute little Christmas accents. Congratulations to 5th grade student Sophia Milcheva, her teacher Jody Metviner, and Verde's principal Seth Moldovan. Let's give them all a round of applause. And if they can please come forward at this time. Next, we want to recognize the middle school winner from Omni Middle School, who designed this cool-looking card with some sandmen on a beach to my right over here. Congratulations to 8th grade student Samantha Bourne, her teacher Mary Alice Hernandez, and Omni's assistant principal Jill DeMarzo. Let's give them all a round of applause. Okay, no problem. And finally, we want to recognize the high school winner from John I. Leonard High School, who designed this very creative card with an alligator lounging on a beach to my left here. Congratulations to 12th grade student Noha Huda, her teacher Natasha Vanderkamp, and John I. Leonard's principal Melissa Patterson. Let's give them all a round of applause. Next, we want to recognize the 2019 Sunshine State Scholars. The program was founded in 1997 through the efforts of the Florida Department of Education, the Florida Education Foundation, and Florida's colleges and universities. The goals of this science, technology, engineering, and mathematics program are to recognize student achievement and to increase the number of students with outstanding mathematics and science credentials who choose to attend Florida colleges and universities. Congratulations to each of this year's Sunshine State Scholars. Please come forward as I call your name. Congratulations to Callie Alexiadis from Wellington Community High. Helena Hay, yes, please, congratulations. Helena Hay from Atlantic Community High, and Adam Johnson from Dreyfus School of the Arts. Let's give them all a round of applause. And also congratulations to the alternates in this year's program, Kyan Green from West Boca Raton Community High, Claire Hagan from Boca Raton Community High, and Patricia Luke from Suncoast High. Let's give them a round of applause. And next, we're going to recognize the Wellington Village Council for their incredibly generous annual grant award to Palm Beach County District Schools in Wellington. The Keely Spinelli grants are named in honor of Keely Spinelli. She was a former principal at Binks Forest Elementary School, and she unfortunately passed away in 2008. At a council meeting last October, the Village Council awarded a total of $330,000 in grants to Palm Beach County schools in Wellington, with each school receiving $30,000. The funds are used to support students in the lowest 25% struggling with reading and math. Students receive assistance in their academic achievements with the purchase of educational items such as phonics kits, Chromebooks, tutoring service, and high-level reading materials. A huge thank you to the Village of Wellington Council for this amazing show of support. Here this evening to accept this recognition from the Village, we have Mayor Ann Gerwig, Vice Mayor Michael Drejos, Council Member John McGovern, Council Member Michael Napoleon, and Council Member Tanya Siskin. And we also have the following Wellington principals. If they are here, please come forward as I call your name. Michelle Levy from Binks Forest Elementary, Gail Pasterchick from Elbridge Gale Elementary, Dr. Eugenia Smith-Feeman from Emerald Cove Middle, Michelle Johnson from Equestrian Trails Elementary, Betsy Cardoza from New Horizons Elementary, Darren Edgecombe from Palm Beach Central High, Adelia De La Vega from Panther Run Elementary, Michael Aronson from Polo Park Middle, Kara Hayden from Wellington Community High, Dr. Maria Vaughn from Wellington Elementary, and Blake Bennett from Wellington Landings Middle. Let's give them all a round of applause. January is National Mentoring Month, so a perfect time for our next presentation to honor Take Stock in Children and the mentors who work with more than 500 students at various schools throughout the district. The mentors meet with their mentees once a week during the students' lunch periods.
Take Stock mentors give emotional and social support to their mentees by listening, encouraging, guiding, and helping them navigate their educational career throughout their high school years. Upon high school graduation, all Take Stock students receive a full tuition college scholarship. The scholarship would not be possible if it wasn't for the mentors and all their hard work. Take Stock and children and their mentors truly make a difference in students' lives and give them hope for the future. For those mentors that are here, I'd ask that you please come forward at this time. And we also want to acknowledge from Take Stock and Children, Michelle Legg, the Associate Mentor Coordinator. Let's give them all a round of applause. Next, we want to recognize Brian Heisler, who is a specialist in the district's Department of Adult and Community Education. He recently won a state award for Media Promotion of the Year from the Adult and Community Educators of Florida Foundation. This achievement is significant because the award is decided from nominations submitted by ACE members throughout Florida. He won the award for Math Talk, a social media tool that was created as a way to promote adult education in Palm Beach County, but also to help students as they prepare to take the GED Math Subs Test. This is accomplished by posting videos, tips, tricks, and motivational quotes to the various Math Talk social media pages. Brian has been with the school district for 4 years, and he has always enjoyed math. He says he was fortunate to have several great teachers who encouraged him along the way. He is honored to have been chosen for this award, and it means a lot to him knowing that he has been able to help people successfully achieve their goal of earning a GED. Congratulations to Brian Heisler for winning the state award for Media Promotion of the Year. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, now we'd like to recognize Maureen Carter, the district's K-5 Social Studies Holocaust Program Planner in the Division of Teaching and Learning. She is the recipient of the 2018 Robert I. Goldman Award for Excellence in Holocaust Education. The award is given by the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, and the award recognizes an educator who has demonstrated excellence in teaching about the Holocaust. Maureen was chosen specifically because of her strong work in classrooms throughout the district and her commitment to increasing her own knowledge of the Holocaust. For her commitment to the important work of educating students about the Holocaust, we are proud to recognize Maureen Carter for receiving the 2018 Robert I. Goldman Award for Excellence in Holocaust Education. Let's give her a round of applause. Next, we want to recognize Megan Stair, a counselor at Park Vista Community High School. She was recently named the Florida School Counselor of the Year. She has been with the school district for almost 20 years, and she got into school counseling because she wanted to make a difference for students of all levels and backgrounds. She believes that every student deserves an advocate to help them access their potential and become a successful member of the community. For her years of dedication to her school and her students, we are pleased to congratulate Megan Stair for being named the Florida School Counselor of the Year. Let's give her a round of applause. And we also want to acknowledge the principal at Park Vista High, Mr. Reginald Myers. Next, we're going to recognize 3 of our school volunteers for their exceptional work and dedication. The 3 winners of Outstanding Volunteer of the Year Award from the school district are generous and giving and are appreciated by the schools and students they serve. They are now in the running for the statewide Outstanding School Volunteer Award given by the Florida Department of Education, which will be announced later in the school year. First, we want to recognize Alexandria Pizzino, and she is the Outstanding Youth Volunteer of the Year. She is a student at Park Vista Community High School. She was the top-ranked student in her class last year with ACE and AP classes. She loves math and chose to share her passion for the subject by forming a lunch tutoring program with fellow students in the Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society. In light of the program's success, Pizzino and her classmates expanded the program to Hidden Oaks Elementary. The program has grown to nearly 200 members, and she also formed a group to raise money for a Prom to Remember Foundation. And additionally, she started her own foundation called the Swim Safety Foundation, which raises money to fund swimming lessons. Congratulations to Alexandria Pizzino, the Outstanding Youth Volunteer of the Year. Next, we want to recognize Timothy Arnold, and he is the Outstanding Adult Volunteer of the Year. Tim racked up more than 1,300 volunteer hours at Cross Point Elementary School last year, almost the equivalent of the number of hours a teacher spends in the school. He has been called the face of the school as he greets visitors in the front office and walks the campus halls with a warm smile. He shakes all of the students' hands and has a lunchbox stocked with treats to reward new students and those who exhibit good behavior. In addition, Tim serves as a strong role model for the students at this school. Starting with 15 boys, he would meet with his group of mentees each morning to check their homework, behavior, and well-being. Since his involvement, the boys have shown improvement in their academics and life skills. He also hosts a Student of the Week lunch for students who show improvement. Congratulations to Tim Arnold, the Outstanding Adult Volunteer of the Year. Let's give him a round of applause. And a thank you to the principal at Cross Point Elementary, Ms. Anne-Marie Dilbert. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, Ms. Jerry Wood is the Outstanding Senior Volunteer of the Year. She served as an educator for nearly 50 years, but retirement wasn't in the cards for her. As such, she has spent the last 11 years volunteering at Roosevelt Elementary School. The former media specialist can often be found in the media center, checking, shelving, repairing, and taking inventory of books. She also reads with the children, helps organize reading counts, literacy night, the book fair, and STEM exercises. She goes above and beyond by volunteering more than 50 hours per week, and she also shows her gratitude for the teachers by organizing all of the appreciation gifts and lunches for the staff at the school. Congratulations to Jerry Wood, the Outstanding Senior Volunteer of the Year. Let's give her a round of applause. And we also want to acknowledge the principal at Roosevelt Elementary, Ms. Sharonda Elaine. Thank you so much for being here. And a special thank you to Ms. Debbie Elfin, the district's volunteer coordinator, who actually will be retiring this year after more than 20 years of service to the school district. Let's give her a big round of applause. Now we'd like to recognize the Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful organization, which serves as the county's certified nonprofit affiliate of Keep America Beautiful. The organization, the organization partnered with the school district's Environmental and Conservation Services Department to provide more than $15,000 worth of recycling bins and sustainability resources to more than 600 teachers across the district. This generous donation has increased district-wide access to green resources. We are grateful to Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful for this generous donation and for their years of supporting environmental initiatives in the school district. Here this evening to accept this recognition from Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful, we have Ms. Lourdes Ferris, the Executive Director, Dale Barnhart, a board member, George Matsukas, also a board member, and a thank you to Lisa Toy, the district's Sustainability and Recycling Coordinator. Let's give them all a round of applause. And finally, this evening, we are recognizing the dozens of students who are part of the first graduating class of 2 district home health aid programs. These programs were started through adult education in September 2018, and they are offered out of the district's Delray Full Service Center and the Adult Education Center. The curriculum included 90 hours of basic healthcare worker coursework and 75 hours of home health aid coursework. The students in this program can ultimately obtain employment in the medical field at hospitals, nursing homes, independent living centers, and in-home healthcare agencies. This program also enables the students to pursue advanced degrees in the medical field. The best part is that all of the students in this first graduating class have been offered positions in their field. Definitely an excellent testament to the quality of instruction and the hard work of each of the students. Congratulations to all of them for their hard work and for being the first graduating class. And for those students, if they could please come forward, let's give them all a round of applause. And we also want to acknowledge Mr. Rick Swearingen, the principal of the Adult Education Center, Stuart Mears, the assistant principal of the Adult Education Center, Brian Killeen, an administrator at the Delray Full Service Center, Mr. Fred Barge, the director of adult education, Dr. Pete Licata, assistant superintendent of choice and innovation, and Dr. Geraldine Johnson, director of choice and career options. Thank you so much.
Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, board members, superintendent and staff, and members of the community, this concludes the presentations for January. The Communications and Engagement Department invites you to visit the district website at www.palmbeachschools.org to learn more about all the great things happening in our schools, departments, and communities. Make sure to follow us on social media, available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. And we also encourage you to download our mobile app in Google Play or from the App Store. Search for School District of Palm Beach County in either store. Thank you, everyone, for your attention this evening, and have a good night.
We have a report from our County Council of Student Councils President, Nolan Ursway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The County Council of Student Councils finally has a resolution that we are seeking the assistance of the superintendent to help us put this in motion. This is a resolution by the Palm Beach County Council of Student Councils to commence the installment of emergency telephone poles across district-operated school campuses in Palm Beach County. Whereas roughly 16,000 crimes are committed on school campuses every day, and whereas around 6% of high school students have admitted they have at least once stayed home from school because they did not feel safe, and whereas more than 7% of high school students reported being threatened or injured with a weapon on school property, and whereas studies have found that 58% of students 7th through 12th grade experience sexual harassment at school, and whereas United States public schools reported 4,200 sexual assaults in 2009-2010, and whereas this resolution will provide students with a quick and easy way to contact adult help or feel safer at school, and whereas the passage of this resolution would decrease the amount of school violence, drug usage, and sexual assault in Palm Beach County schools, now therefore the Palm Beach County Council of Student Councils declares and resolves that The Palm Beach County Council of Student Councils requests the Palm Beach County School District assist in installation of emergency telephone poles stations across all district-operated schools in Palm Beach County, and school violence therefore decreases and students feel safe and comfortable in their schools as a result of the placement of the emergency telephone pole stations. Basically, we feel very strongly this is something that could highly help with the assurance and safety of students across all campuses, so we're seeking assistance in that.
We need a motion for a recommendation for approval by all 7 board members, seconded by all 7 board members. Discussion, Mrs. Bro.
Thank you. So I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What's an emergency telephone pole?
So, I know that it's a hard label to put on them. So if you go around college campuses, you see those big blue emergency poles you see across with the big blue lights where you can basically press a button and it'll contact you directly to any, usually at the college campuses, it's the local police station, but this would maybe go to the main office or the school police.
So yes, if the board accepts your resolution, what we'll do is we'll send this to our security team and our staff for further review to look at how something like this would fit into the total security package. What I'll say today is there may be a form of this that we may be able to create. We are looking at all options as we upgrade our security efforts. But first, let me say this. I appreciate you and the fellow students even taking the initiative to bring a recommendation to us. That's very important. As our wonderful chief of police says, I am school security. We're all part of this process. And so I can just fully appreciate just the effort that you and your team put forth in bringing this to us. So we will take this into consideration. And what we may actually do for you is we may bring you in to talk about some of these things moving forward so you have an understanding of how it fits into the larger plan.
Of course, thank you.
Mrs. Rico.
Thank you. Before the board actually undertakes a vote to approve this, I would just recommend that we amend the motion to accept it.
Okay.
And that way the action that Dr. Fenoy outlined could be followed.
All right. All 7 board members agree to the amendment? Second? All 7 board members? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, as you can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Academic Advisory Committee report. It's in writing, so we won't have a report tonight. Construction Oversight Review Committee, Mr. Doctor. Come on, Mr. Doctor, you're showing your age. Move a little faster there.
That's why my hair's turning gray. Chairman Barbieri here. School board members, Mr. Fenoy, Superintendent Fenoy. My name's Lou Doctor. I'm here representing your Construction Oversight and Review Committee. We met on January 17th. We had 10 CORC members present at the meeting, and we discussed 4 items that are on your consent agenda tonight. The first one was FC1 Wellington High School paving and ADA improvements. This is a closeout contract. The work is done. They've resolved the financials, and they're closing out the contract. They're returning to the sales tax reserve approximately $26,000 of unspent money, and that job was successfully completed. CORC recommended it go forward by a vote of 10-0. Under purchasing construction, we looked at 3 projects, PC1, PC2, and PC3. They all impact Verde Elementary School. PC1 is design services for Harvard Jolly. This is the second amendment. They've already been under contract. We're adding additional funds to the contract in order to establish a holding school for the Verde students while that school undergoes reconstruction. The holding school will be on the Don Estridge Middle School site, and we hope to open the school 2019-2020 year. PC2 is also for Verde modernization. This is the first amendment with Moss Associates, which has already been funded to do preliminary work on it. This is a pre-construction services contract for $48,000 for establishing the site at the Don Estridge Middle School. And the third one is PC3, and that's also for Verde. It's for the holding school at the Don Estridge site for the Verde students, and that's also with Moss Construction. This is the second amendment to their contract. We had 3 observations on these 3 programs. First is we recognize that it's a very tight site, a very tight project to find a home for the Verde students while their school gets rebuilt. The second one is we recognize there may be additional amendments necessary as the project proceeds, but it's urgent that it start immediately because of the tight schedule. The new Verde school will be a K-8 school as opposed to a K-5, and we understand the logic and the reasons for it, and Cork agreed that it should go forward. I think this is an aggressive, ambitious plan, but Verde certainly deserves a new school. I believe it's 40 years old. It's one of the oldest schools in the district, and the kids are going to get a great school. They're solid contractors. Your staff is very sensitive to the urgency and the schedule in order to get in time, both for the summer work that's going to be done, the relocation for the students for 1 year, and then they're moving into a new school. So Cork recommended that all 3 go forward by a vote of 10-0. In addition, we discussed with your staff summer work. Your staff has identified 22 schools that are going to have work done on the summer. That work is going to displace plans that may have been accomplished last year for the schools during the summer period. So the principals are being notified that they should work with any people that may think the school will be available this summer for relocation to other facilities so that there won't be an interruption what they want, and they have enough time to plan what's ever going to happen. That involves 22 school sites, and those superintendents are being notified. In addition, there's another 17 large projects that we have to consider that may also have a summer impact on things that happen. This is all good news. Don't get me wrong. The sales tax money is being put to good use to recover the condition of the public schools in Palm Beach County. Finally, I wanted to tell you that Dave Porter was nominated and unanimously elected as the Cork chair for another year, and Virginia Farris was nominated and elected as the vice chair for the coming year. We had a good meeting. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Docker. We appreciate the work of the Construction Oversight Review Committee. So, President Ursoy, we have a long-standing tradition here that Mr. Shaw will ask you a question now, so you're going to have to be prepared to answer it.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask a question. What is the date and time of graduation?
Oh, the time. The date is May 24th, and sadly, the time is 8 a.m. I'll take it, but it's a little early, but I'm more than okay with it.
Congratulations on your graduation soon. I saw that you were getting ready to leave, so thanks for sticking around for one more
Thank you very much. No
Have a
problem.
nice
I
night.
do expect you to grow your beard out for graduation, if your mom lets you.
Oh, no, I planned on it.
Okay.
I definitely planned on it. It's going to come back soon.
All right, that'll move us to elected officials and delegates, and we have our president and CEO of our Education Foundation, I think, that wants to address us tonight. Mr. Gavrilos.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Fenoy, Mr. Chairman, members of the school board. 2 areas that I want to touch tonight in my time. A couple years back, I was honored to be selected to attend Harvard Business School for a week with nonprofit leaders from all over the world with the strategic perspectives in nonprofit management. And they taught us the distinction between outcomes and impact. Charities tend to count outcomes because it's easier, and I'm focusing area 1 tonight on Red Apple Supply Store. It's easy and convenient for us to simply quantify that already in this academic year we've passed out $200,000 worth of school supplies. I've shared this with you in past meetings. But at the Ed Foundation, as Ms. Brill, who is your designated representative on our board, knows, we're starting to push more in the area of impact. Outcome is what we did in the immediate reaction. Impact is the long-term ramifications. We've done a survey of the teachers who are shopping at Red Apple Supply. Not unsurprisingly, 97.62% of the teachers who shop said it helped them do their job better, to which we go, duh, of course. But here are 2 interesting numbers that I think we need to really digest when we look at the impact of the Red Apple Supply and why we must increase this program as we move forward into the future. 67.62% of the respondents said they had less bad behavior in their classes. just because their students had the school supplies they needed in order to learn. The second number is even more interesting. 89.5% of the teachers who responded said that shopping at Red Apple Supply gave them greater confidence and it gave them a greater sense of appreciation for their chosen profession of educating. I'm not an educator, as most of you know. I sit in these meetings and I hear these staggering numbers of teachers who are leaving the profession within the first 5 years, and most of it is because they're just not satisfied. It's a nationwide crisis. We believe that this is one of the ways, one of the impacts that the Education Foundation, as Mr. Barbieri just said, your Education Foundation is having by helping teachers feel better about what they do. And so I want you as a school board to know, we at the Ed Foundation are focused not simply on the outcomes. I'm not going to come up month after month and throw more numbers at you. We're talking about long-range impact. How can we help you help our teachers feel better? How can we give them a greater sense of confidence and a greater sense of accomplishment in what they do? That's strategically where we're going. These teachers are unsung heroes in this community. And I just want to get to the second point and very briefly highlight tomorrow night. If we're going to make an impact and really change Palm Beach County by using education, it's going to be our teachers and our unbelievable principals. I have to say to you as a school board, to the gathered here and those listening at home, our public school principals are absolute heroes and heroines today. They are budget experts, they're management experts, they're parents, they're nutrition experts, they're security experts. We ask them to be pastors, priests, and rabbis, counselors, and along the way we want them to educate our children too and teach them to read, write, and do arithmetic. We at the Education Foundation are absolutely honored to partner with the school district to sponsor and host tomorrow night, as Comcast is our host sponsor, for the Principal of the Year ceremony. There are 4 unbelievably worthy nominees who will be feted. One winner will be selected, and even I don't know who that person is yet. But I will tell you, as we honor the 4 regional nominees for the Principal of the Year at Manatee Lagoon, starting at 6 o'clock, it is open to the public. We're honoring all of our amazing principals in the Palm Beach County School District. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're free tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, join us at Manatee Lagoon. Put our hands together to recognize these principals who are going to drive the impact of the Education Foundation forward. Mr. Chairman, members of the school board, we are your Education Foundation, serving the needs of the schools, teachers, and students in the finest school district in the state of Florida. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gavalos, we just want to thank you for all that the Ed Foundation does for the children, all the students, and the teachers and principals. Thank you so much. You've made a huge difference since you came on, and we appreciate everything you've done.
You're very kind. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Charmaine Postal. And Jen Martinez is next, and Jacqueline Calloway is third.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year, Chairman, board members, Superintendent, and everyone else in your respective places. Charmaine Postal, Palm Beach County Council of PTA, PTSA. I'm not going to spend all of my 4 minutes because my colleague here is going to go more in depth on what's going on in Florida PTA. I just would like to first thank Mr. Barbieri and everything that you're doing down south with the Verde Elementary School, visiting Don Estridge, making them feel assured. The parents have personally called me and said, can you please thank him? So I want to send that back to you, that they are, they just wanted to say thank you. And to all of you for what you have been doing each day and each month here at Palm Beach County. I just wanted to come up to invite you to a few things and just to put on your calendars. April 29th, we are inviting you to our general meeting. It is a 3rd general meeting. It is for all of Palm Beach County, all of our PTAs in Palm Beach County, including a NOW workshop. Our members have been asking for our school board members to come out and just show their face a little more often all throughout the county. So we just would love to open that up not only to our South school board member, but to everyone here, as well as our superintendent on April 29th at our 3rd general meeting, as well as May 10th is our awards celebration. That is going to be in Boynton Beach, recognizing our PTAs and not only our PTAs, but a school board member and a couple of other teachers. So we do invite you to that on May 10th. And May 11th is a mental health symposium, also in Boynton Beach at the Boynton Beach High School. We will have more information to you about that. And last but not least, we do want to share that Palm Beach County PTA have scholarships for our students and parents. We have 2 scholarships that will be going out, at minimum 2 scholarships, one for a parent, one for a student senior in high school. We will also send that information out to the board office so that you can get that out to your schools about the scholarships that we have coming up. So please be attentive to the emails that will be coming out, and thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Good evening, Chairman Barbieri, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Fenoy, delegates, and meeting attendees. I am Jen Martinez, your Florida PTA President-elect. I bring you greetings from Florida PTA. For more than 100 years, the National Parent-Teacher Association, PTA, has worked towards bettering the lives of every child in education, health, and safety. Founded in 1897, PTA is a powerful voice for all children, a relevant resource for families and communities, and a strong advocate for public education. Today's PTA is a network of millions of families, students, teachers, administrators, business, and community leaders devoted to the educational success of the children and the promotion of family engagement in schools. As the largest volunteer child advocacy organization in the nation, PTA is the conscience of the country for children and youth issues. Through advocacy, as well as family and community education, PTA has established programs and called for legislation that improves the lives for children. Florida PTA is the largest statewide volunteer association working exclusively on behalf of children and youth. Founded in 1923 as a branch of the 4 million member National PTA, Florida PTA is made up of approximately 1,450 local units with more than 300,000 members seeking to unite home, school, and community for all children. Florida PTA volunteers are proud to continue the long history of advocating for all children. Florida PTA does not employ a lobbyist. However, our volunteer advocacy team is in Tallahassee for all committee and session weeks. We walk the halls with passion dedicated to our mission. We will host our annual legislative training in Tallahassee, March 24th through March 26th. The platform for 2018-2020 is funding early childhood education, juvenile justice, well-being of children, supporting student success, school safety, and gun violence prevention. I have brought with me tonight a folder for each of you with our legislative priorities, resolution, and key position statements. And reviewing your legislative platform, I see once again many of our priorities are aligned. We must remain dedicated and focused as we watch all the changes that are happening in Tallahassee and continue to do the best we can for not only our students, but our educators and administrators here in Palm Beach County. Some events you might see in your PTA, PTSA schools are Founders Day celebrations coming up and Reflection celebration. Reflections is a celebration of the arts and has been going on for over 50 years. It helps develop ideas, develop artistic literacy, and increase confidence and a love of learning. I look forward to continuing our strong relationship as we've been working together for over 20 years. As we work to benefit all children of Palm Beach County is my home, but my reach as an advocate is for all children and spans the entire state of Florida. I am pleased to announce that I will be installed as your state leader July 19th, 2020.
Congratulations. After Ms. Calloway, we have Claudia Bartow and Chuck Ridley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barbieri and other school board members and Superintendent Fenoy. My name is Jacqueline Calloway, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. The Coalition is a community-based organization dedicated to ensuring that African American students and other students of African heritage, such as our Haitian students, achieve at the highest levels academically in an educational environment that values their culture, history, languages, and traditions. Our goal is to reverse the unacceptable underachievement by students of African heritage. We know that this underachievement is not due to a lack of ability on the part of the children, but a variety of factors, which include inequities in the quality and effectiveness of the instruction they receive, inequitable opportunities as a result of a lack of consistency in the district and at school practices, and difficulties that many schools have when it comes to fostering caring, respectful relationships with students of African heritage and their parents. That being said, I want to present to you a list of actions that the Coalition would like to see happen in this district. They are as follows. First, ensure that authentic, efficacious, and verifiable infusion of the African and African American diaspora is being implemented at all schools as mandated by Florida statute. Next, identify, examine, and when necessary, correct those school-based practices which impede students' access to instruction and their opportunity to learn. The key issue here is when students are inappropriately or excessively out of their classrooms for trivial reasons, minor disciplinary issues, or tasks that could reasonably be carried out by an adult. Next, collaborate with community organizations and persons to develop a comprehensive professional development program for all school-based staff that is credible to the African American community and sensitive to the needs of students. This authentic exposure of the school-based staff to the communities in which their students live could help establish a foundation for building positive relationships, fostering respect, and decreasing the implicit racism that imperils the emotional health of the students they serve. Finally, collaborate with district and regional staff, school-based administrators, the Classroom Teachers Association, and others as deemed appropriate to assign the most highly effective teachers and administrators to the high-need schools that most black students attend. Provide monetary compensation for those outstanding educators and administrators commensurate with the challenging work that they do. Dr. Fenoy, the Coalition looks forward to meeting with you in the near future to elaborate on the issues that I have presented this evening. We look forward to working together to achieve excellence in education for all students of African heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia?
Hello, my name is Sarah O'Donnell, and I experienced going to J.A. Biztown last year as a 5th grader at South Olive. Now I am a 6th grader in Bach Middle School. Before we get started, let's have the president of Junior Achievement introduce herself.
Good evening, school board members, superintendent. Claudia Kirk-Bartow, the president of Junior Achievement, and thanks for allowing our MC from last year's gala to help me this evening.
Thank you, Claudia. Dr. Donald Fenoy II has a long history of championing junior achievement and the Junior Achievement Mission, going back to his days at Buccaneer High School, Banneker High School, and the Fulton County School District. While with the Fulton County School District, Dr. Fenoy was one of the driving forces in the successes of J.A. Academy, which is expanding next school year to Lake Worth High School under the newly rebranded name 3DE Junior Achievement.
So Dr. Fenoy will be honored at JA's Hall of Fame Gala coming up as our school district champion on Saturday, February 9th at the Kravis Center's Cohen Pavilion, along with 6 other honorees.
Star Student of the Year, Jensen Beach High School, National Honor Society.
Volunteer of the Year, Omar Soto from Rybovich Suvert Yacht Marina.
Corporate Partner of the Year, Joe Russo.
Joe Russo.
1909, Palm Beach Tech.
Teacher of the Year, it's top secret. She's going to be surprised on Friday. We can't tell you that one.
Philanthropic of the Year, the Stiles Nicholson Foundation.
And for Lifetime Achievement, as an alum for over 30 years at the Palm Beach County School District, Dr. Marianne DuPont. She spent, as you know, her lifetime committed to the children in our community. And her motto has been, you have to have vision in your heart and heart in your vision. So, and she served on the board of Junior Achievement for over 27 years. Yes, we have term limits, but obviously she's awesome, and she keeps getting voted back. So will you join us on the 9th to help us celebrate these champions? We have invitations.
Can I have a photo with Dr. Fenoy?
Thank you. Mr. Ridley.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. My name is Chuck Ridley, and I have the privilege of being the chair of Unify Palm Beach County. Unify exists for one simple purpose: to build power for Black people and Black communities. One of the biggest complaints by the Black community over the years is your lack of fairness in equity in contracting in your public contracts. Many of the vendors that we've talked to have had either grown frustrated or just outright had given up. In 2016, you launched an effort to pass a penny sales tax. And at that time, Unify made it clear to you that we were willing to support your referendum, but you must be willing to do the following. One is to change your business culture, build your capacity to connect with Black businesses, to also create a pathway in which Black businesses could be successful in retaining contracts and successful in retaining them. You gave us your word that you would do that. Today, I'm happy to say that I actually see improvements in that department. Now, I don't often come and tell you that you got something right, but you have. And I'm going to say her name wrong, so I'm going to try to get it right. But there's someone work for you named Miss Dickie Sykes. Did I get it right? Wow. Miss Sykes, we see you. The work you're doing is commendable, particularly the work you're doing with the SBE. But Ms. Sachs, we believe that you would admit and acknowledge that there is still room for a lot of improvement, and that improvement needs to come from this board. You set the North Star for equity. If you set that North Star, your superintendent and his staff will follow, and you will see the community respond. You have a responsibility to make sure that there's an economic ecosystem that not only works for those with many blessings, but those with few. And it also, I'm here to remind you that Attorney Franklin Lee asked you to start evaluating your NWBE program after a year. My calendar tells me a year has come back, and to the best of my knowledge, you haven't picked that up. But while I'm here, I also want to acknowledge another one of your employees, and I ain't gonna look at them because they really get embarrassed and they ask me, don't do this. But since I got a minute left, I'm going to do it. You have a deputy superintendent named Keith Oswald that has been a tremendous asset to our community. The Black community came out and spoke in honor of this gentleman when he was a principal. he headed up a different department that had something to do with students, and I can't remember the name, but we came out and spoke for him then. And then when he was the chief academic officer, we came out and spoke to tell you what a fine job he was doing at that point. And now that he's the deputy superintendent, we're here again to tell you this is a fine young man. Why do we call him fine? Because he's a public servant. He was a public servant as a principal. Everywhere he goes, he's a public servant. Selfless. He puts community first. Not just the communities that you're used to hearing from, but the ones that you seldom get. And so I will never, ever not come out and tell you when you have good staffs, and you got two. And so in the words of the revolutionaries, boom shakalaka.
Thank you. Mr. Oswald, why are you turning red, Mr. Oswald? Last but not least is the CTA president, Justin Katz.
Thank you all very much. My name is Justin Katz. I am the president of the Palm Beach County Classroom Teachers Association. I wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year, obviously, and briefly cover a couple of issues that I think are extremely important. I've spoken to each of you in some degree about the ongoing concerns at the conservatory, and I've requested, and I believe it's in the works, to have a public workshop where all parties are afforded the opportunity to come here, lay the facts out, and ultimately for you guys to decide which direction you go. I don't have a personal opinion about what they're trying to accomplish at this point. Obviously, I'm not a fan of any charterization, but that's in the past as far as it's been explained to me. But there are ongoing concerns from teachers conveyed to me that they feel like they have been stuck in the middle of a dispute between the district and parents. And as you all know, the most controversial thing, at least in my opinion, that you do up here has to do with borders and school assignments for children. That brings out parents because it is extremely personal to them, and that's what this debate's about. And teachers feel they have been caught in the middle of it, and they have conveyed to me that they feel like they're being pressured and used, as kind of puzzle pieces while efforts are being trying to be achieved. So I would ask that you have this public meeting, and whatever the ultimate direction you go in, that's your prerogative. But the teachers, and again, this is a consequence of annual contracts and legislation in Tallahassee, teachers that can be dismissed at the end of the year without cause or explanation are in a perpetual state of fear that if they show any dissent, they could be shown the door. So it's a very serious concern, and I hope you address it, not just for the teachers and my concerns, but for the parents as well. They were promised whatever they were promised in the past, and it fell apart real quick this year, and now everybody is, in a state of uncertainty. And I can't imagine if you have children and you're trying to get them the service and the education they need, and you were promised it and it fell apart. It's controversial and it's personal, and I just want to make sure that the employees are not being pitted in one corner or the other because they just want to do their job and teach these kids. So that's that with regard to that topic. We enter negotiations. Next week, we exchange proposals this week. I won't speak to that, but I will say that just moving forward, I think that we passed the referendum, and that was meant in large part with regards to the teacher component to address salary issues in the past. If we don't come up with a plan to deal with the legislature underfunding us and dealing with the issue of not having money for raises, not just for teachers, but for all employees, in-house, a solution here on an annual basis, the referendum money takes care of what happened in the past. I feel like there needs to be a plan to make sure that we don't do that again for the next 5 or 10 years, because there's no doubling the referendum if we repeat our problems from the past. My recommendation is twofold. One, first and foremost, is, and this has been a request in the past, is to earmark a set amount of funds for teacher salaries in the budget, not to budget everything and then at the end of the day say this is what's left for raises. It's, the way that teachers, and I'm sure other employees characterize it, is the scraps. We get the scraps, and if there's not a lot of scraps, then there's no raises or low raises. So I would implore you to put in the budget a line item at a certain level that gives sufficient raises with the resources you have, because Tallahassee's not going to help us. At least that's what we suspect. And second, we go through these negotiations on an annual basis. I'll finish in a second. Every single year, we're back at the table on raises. It's been a long time since we've had a multi-year deal with regards to salaries. I know that the fiscal picture from Tallahassee clouds our ability to do that with a degree of confidence, but I really think that it would be beneficial if we came up with a way to strike 2 or 3 year deals so that it wasn't every year money, money, money. People like financial certainty. I think it would avoid a lot of acrimony that crops up on these perpetual negotiations. So those are my recommendations to you all, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. We have one agenda speaker, Clinton Gordon.
Good evening. My name is Clinton Gordon, and I came across this proposed agenda item POL-A3, which is a revision to the policy of school advisory councils. I will get straight to the point. I only have 3 minutes. In regards to the revisions in line 62, my concerns are scratched out that any SAC member may recommend for the appointment of business and community members to serve on the SAC. Why are we removing the words any SAC member may recommend business and community members? Who will control the recommendations? If school districts control the recommendations of business and community members, then they also control the recommendations for school district employees, basically monopolizing new membership, especially if you are removing in line 69 community members will be appointed by the principal, and removing following advice and consent of the SAC. So the following the advice and consent of the SAC will be removed. So the principal will no longer follow the advice and consent of the SAC in that case. Lines 155 through 151s are being removed. All right. 55. That SAC shall be the sole body responsible for final decision making at the school relating to implementation of Florida Statute 100.42. 18 and 100.343 regarding school improvement and accountability. These lines are being removed, giving more control and influence of school improvement plan to the school itself to do with what and how it pleases. Line 243 removes the vote and approval of SIP from a SAC meeting, which takes away the opportunity to discuss and vote in person at a SAC meeting. Also, line 244, the removal of with SAC consent allows the principal to submit the school improvement plan without the consent of SAC. Removal of lines 264 through 276 take away the ability for SAC to select the projects and programs for enhancing school performance, development, and implementation. Also, it allows the principal to override SAC recommendations of use of SIP funds. Being a member of SAC myself, I urge the board to vote no on agenda item POL-A3. In my opinion, this agenda item takes away the community influence of SAC away, and from the community, it takes away the influence of SAC and the influence of the community in SAC. It also encourages the absence of transparency in the school's implementation and preparation of the school improvement plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I believe you mean POL-A1, which is school advisor. You said PA3, but we assume you meant the one that deals with school advisory councils, which is A1.
POL-A3.
Okay, you've got it incorrect. It's A1 for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we have one item that's already been pulled from the consent agenda. That was FMPF1, and I'd like to go ahead and pull this one that Mr. Gordon just spoke about. FMPF1, and I'd like to go ahead and pull this one that Mr. Gordon just spoke about, POL-A1. Is there anybody else who wants to pull any items? So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Dr. Robbins, second by Mrs. Brill. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. F4. F4. Everybody hit F4. Your computer will F5. Your computer will refresh with the change in the agenda. Find it. Okay, so we're under new business in the first item. First item is BRD 2. I recommend the board review and make any final amendments to the 2019 board member committee assignments and vote on the board's representative on the Value Adjustment Board as tabled on December 5th, 2019. Have a motion? Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Mrs. McQuinn. Discussion. Mrs. McQuinn?
Thank you, Mr. Barbieri. When I volunteered at the last time for, I think, 3 more committees, which I'm excited to have, I didn't check my calendar ahead of time, and so I do have a conflict with, I've served with great privilege on the Center for Creative Education, CCC, for the last 2 years. And that is a committee that, extremely important to the schools they're working in, requires the least amount of time from a board member. It is, they just take care of themselves and come to us to approve what they need to be approved. They have quarterly meetings. So I am going to, of course, she has no clue because we're not allowed to talk to one another about these kinds of things per sunshine. I was going to ask if my colleague Erica Whitfield would consider being our board member person on the CCE board. And I'm going to leave that up to whoever is allowed to say anything.
Mrs. McQuinn, you can't do that.
I can't.
You volunteered for that committee and you're stuck.
I know, but I can't go to any of the meetings.
All right, Mrs. Whitfield, are you willing to take that?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right. We need a motion to approve that change. Motion by Mr. Shaw, second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Was there any other one? We have the tabling of the Value Adjustment Board recommendation, and I don't remember. Attached. So the current member that's been serving on the Value Adjustment Board as appointed by the school board is Stormont Norm, and his resume is attached, and we tabled that last week to see if there was anybody else that any board members wanted to present, and I understand that there are not at this point. So we need a motion to approve his appointment to the Palm Beach County Value Adjustment Board. Motion, Mr. Shaw, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That takes us to Mrs. Andrews.
Yes, I've asked the board to consider adding 2 more committees. One, the Hispanic Education Coalition, as well as the Urban League of Palm Beach County for board participation. So I'd like to bring that forth.
We have a motion to add those 2 to our list. Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Brill. Discussion? Dr. Robinson, then Mrs. Brill.
So each of their boards will have to approve a seat for a school board member, correct?
I've had a conversation with the boards, the Hispanic Education Coalition. They have approved it, as well as I've had a conversation with the Urban League.
Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. And, you know, I think all of us probably serve on other, you know, I serve on, like, for example, the COBRA Education Committee that, you know, we don't formally get appointed to it. So if they don't need a formal appointment, I don't see why, you know, you or someone else couldn't just attend.
Right, so we just need a volunteer to serve on there and then an alternate if it's necessary. So who would like to serve on the first one, Hispanic Coalition? Mrs. Andrews, who would like to be backup?
I'll do Urban League.
Mrs. Brill would be the backup on the Hispanic Coalition. The Urban League, Dr. Robinson would like, and Mrs. Andrews would be a backup on that one.
To know when they meet.
The board clerk will, Mrs. Bass will find out and let you know when your calendar is going to be adjusted. So are we done with that one? Okay. We need a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mrs. Bass. Next item is BRD 3. Let me get there. Excuse me. I recommend the board discuss and take any needed action as to whether to participate in the 2019-2010 Master Board Program as presented by the Florida School Boards Association. Before we take a motion, we had an email asking us if we wanted to do that again, and I know Mr. Shaw had it done for us in 2014. Typically, they like us to do it every time there's a change in leadership. Obviously, we have change here. We have a new superintendent, the big guy sitting next to me. So we need to discuss whether or not you all want to participate in that. The program fee is $4,500. So we need a motion. Mrs. McQuinn, is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Dr. Robinson, seconds for discussion. Dr. Robinson?
Well, I'm guessing by the silence that people feel the same way I feel. I'm just guessing. But, I mean, I would hate to turn down anything that is training for us, but I really, we've been through multiple trainings with the Florida School Board Association over time. I think that was before your time, Mrs. McQuinn, and I'm not quite sure that we or the students or staff of Palm Beach County benefited from it. I mean, I guess I kind of would need to hear how it would be more impactful this time, like maybe something changed. I don't know, but I'm a little bit hesitant given the price. If it was free, I would go. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay, Mrs. Brill and then Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. And Dr. Robinson, I think you're right. The silence does reflect that we feel the same way. I was going to say that I'm ambivalent, but quite frankly, I think I personally have gotten greater value from some of the other trainings. And we did have a workshop, I believe, on communication or something, with Dr. Fenoy, where we had someone also from the outside. So, I just don't really see the value in it.
Okay, Mr. Shaw.
And I think my biggest concern with this is when we did go through this, it was done two ways. The first one that we had, it was only our board that participated in that. And then FSBA made a change, and it's now done collective with however many boards they can get together to do it. And when we did that, I think we just really did not get what we need. So I think, as Mrs. Brill said, the trainings that we've had in the past, I think, have been more beneficial.
Right. Anybody else? So it was on a recommendation to take action if needed. I guess we're not going to take any action. Unless you want to take, we could have a motion to not do it so we can get back to the Florida School Board Association that we're not going to do it this year rather than leave it hanging. So can we have a motion to that effect? Okay, all in favor of not doing it? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're not going to do it. That takes us to FMP F1.
Yes, sir. I recommend the board receive and accept the monthly contract and disbursement report as submitted.
We have a motion? What are you all sleeping? Somebody make a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. Brill. But Dr. Robinson, I believe you pulled that?
I did. I'm back to pulling this monthly just to show that despite some of the public comments about the progress, okay, I'll admit that there's some progress, but in this report for November 2018, only 3.59% of the dollars went to MWBEs, SBEs, and self-reported firms. That includes the people who say that they're MWBEs. So, I get that staff is working hard. I think maybe there might be some additional support that might be needed, but I just know that those numbers are not satisfactory. So I will carve out some time to meet with staff about how we might improve that. Because the truth of the matter is, when we share the wealth, more children are able to participate in activities that at the end of the day increase their academic achievement and make us look better. I mean, you know, it's an investment. So
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Ms. McQuinn?
Along those lines, I have met over the past couple of years with some small business owners, very small, and they don't even, I know that we have workshops to invite them in, to figure out what to do, to get involved in this large system. That's a tough one. But one gentleman, I think from Loxahatchee, had said to me that, and they're small, maybe they want to put windows in something, but he said the more money we can put in their pockets, the better their communities and the better they're able to help the big picture. So again, I don't have an answer, but I think my first meeting 2 years ago, the data was presented about our contracts, and frankly, it was very embarrassing. There had been an audit or some study, I can't remember now, but it was embarrassing. And I didn't take credit for that because I hadn't been on the board. Well, now I have for 2 years. And I don't want us to be sitting in the same spot. So I'm basically just echoing Dr. Robinson, but it is extremely important. And if we were supposed to do something in a year that we didn't do, or if we did do it, could you please let us know?
Mrs. Andrews?
And thank you. I just met with that department yesterday with a few individuals, and they're continuing to get out of this building. They're going back out to the Glades to do another training, and I think a lot of it is getting out to make sure people understand what the school board has to offer and how to navigate filling the application out and the processes so that you can do what you need to do. So there is some progress, and I commend them for coming out and trying to take on additional opportunities to educate the community about the opportunities here within the school district.
So, Dr. Fenoy, obviously we can't vote down the monthly disbursement report. It's already done, and I don't know how we're going to change it. It is what it is. But I think the board has some serious concerns about whether or not we're doing enough. So can you come back to us with either a workshop or some report back to all 7 board members as to what we're doing and what the thoughts are on how we can improve the participation?
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think it'd be actually good for the board to even see the new office space and the computer systems we set up for the community to gain access. In the last 3 years, between purchasing and Wanda's whole team have really made an emphasis on this. We absolutely have a long way to go. But I think that wouldn't be a problem at all. We can really get you up to speed on some of the efforts that we've done up until this point.
All right, thank you. So we need to vote on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-1 with Dr. Robinson in opposition. That'll take us to LD2, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. I recommend the board authorize the general counsel to settle the case of Joelle Polat, Gary Jean, Fennell Pitet-Home, Angelina Sistrunk, and Kevin Pinnock versus the School Board of Palm Beach County, Florida, case number 9:18 CV 80660. DMM subject to the approval of the superintendent and to authorize the board chair, superintendent, and general counsel to sign all necessary documents.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Personnel addendum P2.
P2, I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Mr. Shaw.
I wanted to let the board know I'll be voting against this item, and I shared with Dr. Fenoy and Mr. Oswald on the concern about one of the recommendations that I don't believe the individual is really qualified and suitable in this item. So thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-1 with Mr. Shaw in opposition. P3, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, I recommend the board approve the job description as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. POLA1.
POLA1, I recommend the board approve the adoption of proposed revised policy 2.09, school advisory councils.
We have a motion. Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, seconded by Mrs. Andrews. I pulled that one. I'm concerned about some of the things we're removing from the policy that were covered by the speaker, and I saw some nods from my other colleagues up here with respect to that too. So, Mrs. Whitfield.
Well, I just felt like there was so many items that he had that he brought forward that maybe it might be better to table the item and have some of those concerns addressed with staff before they come back to us again. I don't think we have the capacity to go through each individual one right now, and I would like to make sure that the concerns are addressed.
Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Oswald would like to address us. I agree that we probably should table this rather than you trying to go through this with us tonight without it being in front of us. So we can probably get the notes from the gentleman that spoke so that we can key in on the issues that he brought up.
Yeah, we absolutely can table this. I do want to let you know that all the items that were discussed by Mr. Gordon are addressed in another section of the policy. So the support of the SAC and their processes are addressed in other areas. I don't know if you want to hear where that is addressed. It's pretty much all in one place. But I want to be clear that we're not taking any of the responsibilities with SAC. It is still addressed within the policy. It's just in another location.
Mrs. McQuinn.
Yeah, I think it's important that it be clear to the public because one of the pieces that I looked up that it was misunderstood. It's very clear that what has been added and I'm talking about line 214.
Correct.
That each SAC at the school level, we've actually added, so if we do, in addition to saying shall assist in the preparation, it actually includes and approval during a SAC meeting. So we've actually added to make sure that it's clear SAC has to approve that plan. So I think a clarification in writing would be great.
All right, so we have a motion to take, Mrs. Brill.
Well, I just wanted to add also, one of my concerns had to do with, who chooses who's on the SAC. It should be open to everybody in the community. And as all of you know, I've been an advocate long before I was on the school board for ESC. And I think some of those schools might have chosen for me not to have been on the SAC at the time because of some of the things that I advocated for, which in the end worked out well. So I really need to see where these changes are, and I appreciate the speaker bringing these to our attention.
We will follow up in writing with that.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. Gordon for reviewing the policy in that level of detail and bringing those points forward. So my request, assuming that we table it, is that either if Mr. Gordon cannot provide us with his notes, that we get a transcription of his comments so that then I can spend time to actually go through it given his comments. Yeah, that's it.
Mr. Gordon provided an email earlier today, so he not only spoke, he did it in writing, so we'll take that and address it point by point.
All right, so we had a motion to table to a date certain, which would be the next special meeting of the board would be February 6th. Motion made by Mrs. McQuinn, seconded by everybody. We'll pick one for the minutes. Mrs. Brill. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. REGN1.
REGN1. I recommend the board approve out-of-county travel for upper-level French students at William T. Dwyer High School to Martinique, which will allow these students the opportunity to practice their French in an authentic setting while being immersed in the French culture.
All right, good cause exists to add this item so the students can make final preparations in a timely manner before the trip in February. Do we have a motion? Motion by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is TL4.
No, Yes, sir. I recommend the board approve the postponement of aftercare and pre-kindergarten fees for families impacted by the federal government shutdown.
Good cause exists to add this item in order to help alleviate the financial burdens being experienced by families affected by the government shutdown. Do we have a motion? Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Ms. Brill. Any discussion? Ms. Brill?
I was very, very happy to see this item. And the other thing that rises to my mind is food service. You know, if there's any need, I know that our policy allows us to feed students whether they're able to pay or not. I think we need to communicate that and make sure that students know that, you know, it's discreet, because this is a time when we need to support our families.
Mrs. Whitfield?
Thank you. I was just, I was curious about how we were going to get this word out to families. I didn't see any indication on what we were going to do there, and I think this is super important. Very excited about it, but I want families to have a way that they can know this is an opportunity for them, because I do think this is a difficult time for our federal workers.
Mrs. Andrews?
And I, too, was very pleased to see this, and I'm asking also for the guidance counselors and the principals to please look closely at your students. Sometimes we don't know who's being impacted. We hope this shutdown will actually go away soon, but we really have no way of knowing. So we really have to pay attention to our students as well as others that's a part of our family, to make sure that we provide the support as much as possible. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Before we break, time certain 7 for non-agenda speakers, on BRD 3, which we added for the Master Board Program, good cause existed to add that item for discussion and possible vote, as a deadline to sign up for that program was March 1st, 2019. We also added LD 2, the legal settlement in the matter of Joe Palat. Good cause existed for the adding that item to the agenda so the board could determine whether to resolve this lawsuit during the period of time the court has entered a stay in the case. And with respect to P2 and P3, the personnel items, good cause existed to add those items to the agenda for tonight to allow for employees to begin in their new positions as soon as possible. So at this point, we'll stop. And
Mr. Barbieri, can I have an answer to the question I had, though?
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Fetterman's been working very closely with the departments. Ms. Fetterman?
So we've been working with extended learning for aftercare and morning care, and then with our early childhood department for pre-K. So upon board approval, we will send paperwork and information home to our parents so that any employees affected by the government shutdown, with identification, they will be able to apply for this, and we will be able to grant them postponement of all fees. And then once they receive back pay, so not just once the government goes back, but once they've actually received their back pay, that's when they'll be able to repay any fees that they've incurred.
And we've had some local media coverage as well, so word hopefully will get out this evening from our local media.
Ms. Brill, then Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. So we do know that some of them may not get enough back pay, so that's something we need to look at. And then, is it possible for us to also do a robocall just to let people know? Because, when you send home paperwork with children, sometimes it doesn't get there. So I think that we need to find another way also to reach out to the public and to the rest of the community.
We'll work with the communications
Thank you.
Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, so I wanted to make that same point, because as I understand, some of the contractors who are impacted by this won't get back pay. So I think we need to take a look at that. But the other thing is, so for pre-K and aftercare, the parents are picking them up, right? Okay, so we can person-to-person communication. Okay, great.
Exactly. When they pick up and sign out, because for pre-K and aftercare, they must sign their children out. So we'll be able to, at that point, hand out that paperwork. So it won't just be sent home in a backpack. Correct.
Right. So to reiterate, that motion passed 7-0. Thank you. Non-agenda speakers, we have several. I'll call 3 names. Please come up to the table. Carl Mohammed. I'll call 3 names. Please come up to the table. Carl Mohammed, Jel Alvarez, and Jane Westbrook. I don't see anybody else. So after Mr. Mohammed, Gary Mitten, Wendy Sarney, Allison Burney.
Ready? Once again, welcome back 2019, and I wanted to bring a little reminder to us because when we hear about blacks inside of Palm Beach County, we know that there are many different segments of the black population, and we had tried to establish our voice inside of the relationship here in Palm Beach County, the non-immigrant blacks. And a lot of these other organizations that are utilizing that word black, they don't represent our community to the best of their ability. Positive and supportive school climate and high-performance culture. I just want to remind everybody the United States Congress just passed a resolution about white supremacy and white racism, white nationalism in the Congress, and it passed 424-1. And I thought that we were working on that same project as it relates to education here in the state of Florida after the passing of the Florida Statute 1003.42H, and we know that that deals directly with the curriculum, and we haven't had any kind of dismantling of that kind of activity thus far that we can get a report to our community like we requested last year at the closing of the school year. We requested that possibly you might have had some improvements during the year of 2018 that we might not be aware of, that you are aware of, and we haven't been able to get that kind of relationship established. Now, as we prepare for this next Black History Month, I'm hoping that during the month of February, usually everyone is a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more respectful during that month. And I know that we talked a little bit earlier, Ms. McBrill, Ms. Whitfield, and Ms. Andrews, and Ms. McQuinn, and you too, Chuck and Mr. Barbieri, about doing a workshop. And in that workshop, you need the community, the real community that have been involved with the Florida statute since its inception. And I think many times we got a lot of people that are representing that law that don't have a comprehensive knowledge themselves. And I think if we had a workshop, we would be able to see some of these things that people keep saying that they're representing and they're not. And I leave you with what they say, vision is not just only being able to see, but it's also being able to anticipate what lies ahead. And as we prepare ourselves for the 2019, and we don't still hear any voices coming directly to the African-American community from our perspective, I'm hoping that we can continue to nurture that relationship with you guys, and that workshop possibly can come into existence. And I know it'll be beneficial not only for Palm Beach County, but for the United States of America. And lastly, just consider removing some of this stuff that we're having inside of the curriculum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We all know who you are, certainly, but can you say your name for the record?
I'm Carl Muhammad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. My name's Gary Mitten, by the way. I hope we all had a great New Year, and I think we can all agree on one thing, that teachers can do their best teaching, students can do their best learning if the schools are clean, safe, and well-maintained. Well, guess what, John, I'm going to hit on tonight. Your maintenance department has been failing for at least 20 years. And I say that because the district has not funded them properly or enough. The number of employees has gone from 786, I believe it was, in 1982 to almost less than 200 now. There was only 98 schools then. There's almost 202 now. Your current progress just is not making it. I know you have your priorities, and maintenance is not one of them, because I can't remember the 32 years that I worked here, any school actually being painted outside. Do y'all leave your house like that? You know, some schools, the new schools back then, the 18, are now 20 years old. So you don't have anything new. Your maintenance department needs to be revamped. You have to dedicate money to the maintenance of your billion-dollar investment, over $1 billion. Think of how much money, property, land you have that you need to maintain. You're probably looking at maybe 1.5 maintenance personnel per school now. That's nowhere near. Students can't learn when they're sitting out in the hallway in 100-degree weather. They can't learn if the heat's not working when it's 35, 40 degrees outside. So you have a lot of work to do, but you need to dedicate yourself to having the funding to do it. Now, I know this referendum money, everybody's going to be having their hands in the till, and it's going to be up to you on where it goes. I think you can all agree that your schools are important. Your children are important. These teachers are important, but to do the right job, you have to have the personnel. You currently do not have that. So something needs to be done. My objective in the next month would be to meet with the board members, possibly the superintendent if he's willing. I'm sure I've already got a rep, that maybe he doesn't want to hear from me. I've tried to get one with Miss Wanda Paul back in October, November. What was told, she's too busy. So, I gave her my best shot, but she's too busy. For 4 months, 3 months, she's too busy for a 1-hour meeting. So, I got nothing to gain here. I'm a retired guy that all he does is play golf. And I damn sure love doing that. But I'm trying to get things done that I've tried to do for 25 years that just didn't succeed. So please, your secretaries have my phone number. Some of them are on speed dial. So if you give me a call, I'll postpone my golf. I think you'd be interested in what I have to say, and I hope I woke everybody up so they can vote now. Have a
Thank you,
great
Mr.
evening.
Midden.
Look forward to next month.
Thank you, Mr. Midden. Just in the defense of Ms. Paul, she is extremely, extremely busy. We have almost 200 schools that she's in charge of making sure that security is implemented and all the things that we need to get done. So, she has very limited time. So I'm sure when her calendar frees up that you'll probably hear from her.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm available.
Okay.
For the 200 schools.
Thank you.
196,000 students.
Thanks, Mr. Midden. Did you play Santa Claus this year?
Yes, I did. I have an agent, by the way, now.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me a bit, Mr. Midden.
First year out of 20 years, I've got an agent.
Are you booked for next Christmas?
Which day? I'm starting on December 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll give you the rate, but not in public. I'll give you the phone number.
All right, thanks. Wendy Sarney, Allison Burney, and Jill Testa.
Yes, hello to the board again this month. As you all know, my son was assaulted February 8th, 2016. He was forced, I use that word, forced, to stay the remainder of the day because I was not called at all. I did not get the option to pick my son up, to see if he was okay, to bring him home, to take him away from danger. Instead, my son told me when I came to aftercare to pick him up right before 6. However, he did tell the principal at noon and stayed that day until almost 6 p.m., 6 hours more. If you can please picture 6 hours in the mind of an 8-year-old. But aside from that negligence, today we're here to talk about school shuffling, about people that have been accused of crimes, serious ones, like my son's assaulter and principal, and then shuffled into other schools within your county. I did address this last time I was here, asking you for a meeting, and I can assure the public there was no meeting. We are beginning to ask if you're taking this matter seriously, just because there is a pending issue that we don't discuss when it comes to my son does not mean that the board doesn't have the right to address this issue of shuffling. I know I can't point out names, but I will point out the schools. So far, Water's Edge to Calusa, Royal Palm Beach to Olympic Heights, Point Siena to Omni, Omni to Eagles Landing, Olympic Heights to West Boca. What am I talking about? These are humans that are accused of serious crimes. An example. So there was an assistant principal that actually pled guilty to burglary and stabbing someone in 2002 and is currently an assistant principal of one of your schools. I'm asking, is that because of failure when it comes to background checks, or is that because this is acceptable Do you accept assistant principals with felonies on their record? Do you accept it if they stab someone, violent crimes, to be in your schools? Is it okay with you? I know it's not that you are not aware, as I received this information from your own site. It's public record when everyone has a disciplinary action and what it's for. Why are you switching schools and not terminating these people? When's enough enough? When?
Thank you, Ms. Testa. Wendy Sarney?
Good evening. My name is Wendy Sarney, and I have followed this case along with many others within the county. As I sit here before you with the 3 minutes that I have, I cannot help but wonder what you are thinking when you hear this every single month. Do you care? Do you look into this ever? I know you cannot answer us, and in a way that's good, because it forces you to actually listen. But what are you doing about this? 3 years coming here about shuffling teachers and not terminating them. 3 years we have come before you to help in getting rid of the people who broke your own laws, for the people who negligently handled this case to be held accountable, so we do not have repeat offenders in your schools and to avoid negligent hiring. So far, your action has been to ignore or to shuffle a principal that did not follow any of your own procedures. Is this what you want the Palm Beach County Board to be known for? When the county shuffles teachers, it is taking away from the good teachers you have in place. It is putting a bad taste in the community and having many parents question whether they're going to be putting their children in private schools. There are many parents out there who are afraid to speak up, but I am not. It is not about the scores to see which county is the best. I worked for the New York City Board of Education for 30 years, and I have seen teachers come and go. If a teacher was accused of committing a crime, yes, there would be an investigation. And if found guilty, that teacher would be terminated and not moved to another school to hide the crime. The parents of Palm Beach County schools are now aware of this. I find the practices of the board in shuffling teachers who have committed crimes to be outrageous and unconscionable, and this practice must stop immediately. Thank you.
Allison Burney?
I'm here tonight as a concerned parent. Andrew's assault was on February 8th, 2016, 3 years ago. And in 3 years, nothing's been accomplished. Nothing's been done. Month after month, parents are here, or Jill is here. Nothing's been done. There was a principal that broke your own law, and that principal was relocated to another school. There's so many parents and friends and fellow moms in the county that want to know why this principal was moved to Calusa Elementary after breaking a law in Waters Edge Elementary. I don't know why a member would be shuffled into a different school after being accused of something so serious as assault. Why is hiring a new staff member that follows the law not a better image for Palm Beach County to go with? It's almost embarrassing to think that we cannot even handle something as simple as looking into the background of past teachers to make sure they have not been accused of any major crimes. In these cases, these people were accused and just shuffled to another school, as opposed to being terminated. After 3 years of coming here and frightened mothers and children, this should be serious enough to you to at least look into it, not just thank us after the beep, after a few minutes, go to sleep tonight easily and wake up tomorrow like it never happened. There's parents out there that are afraid to speak up, so we're speaking up for them and their children. Children. Do the right thing, hold people accountable, and hold the right people accountable for just shuffling faculty to another school.
Thank you. Mrs. Bass, was that, we didn't have any other speakers, correct? All right, so we'll move to the last item on the agenda, which is TL5. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, at this time I have Deputy Superintendent Oswald come forward. To speak on TL5.
Thank you. TL5 is our textbook adoption process. If you recall, about a year and a half ago, we had to change process with a change in statute to allow for a public hearing on our adoption materials. This is serving as that process. We did not have any speakers to sign up. In 30 days, we will come back to the board to allow for a formal vote on the adoption of our math adoption K-12 for next school year. So these materials have also been put into the board office for your perusal as well. So if you have any questions yourselves, otherwise we will see you in 30 days with additional information.
Any questions from anybody? Dr. Robinson?
So what is the current state of any flexibility that we have with instructional material dollars?
Can you clarify?
So there was one window of opportunity some years ago where those dollars could be used to pay teachers, like to write curriculum. But as I understand, 50% of those dollars have to be used on materials that are on the state's adoption list, and the other 50% has to be used on instructional materials, but not necessarily on that list. So I'm just checking, is that correct? No windows of flexibility.
And I see Mr. Harris has joined up here. I'll let him address that specific question.
I think we probably need to get back to her on that question.
Okay, so we'll follow up in writing on that particular question.
There are certain criteria that you have, and I believe this is the cycle for mathematics at this time. And I know that categorical dollars don't have to be spent solely on that. But in terms of your specific question, we'll get back to you.
You want to add, Ms. Fenner, maybe?
For the instructional materials adoption, what we have to do is purchase all core instructional materials for textbooks. And at least 50% of any core materials that we purchase have to come off of that state materials adoptions list. And then we could purchase for the other 50%, if we select a core materials adoption that's not on that state list, that's fine, as long as at least 50% is on there. However, before the monies can be used for any other materials purchase, we have to satisfy all the core materials adoption. Well, as prices have gone up, and unfortunately state categorical spending has not gone up, at this point it becomes difficult just to make sure that we meet all of the core instructional materials needs with the monies allocated to us from the state. So additional monies are just not left over at this time to do other pieces.
So I think last time the math adoption came around, I said the same thing. Math hasn't changed. Why are we buying new books? Can we do something else with that money? I think the answer is no.
Well, the standards have changed since the last math adoption.
They have?
Yeah. So there have been some significant changes to the math standards, which the last couple of years, we have been supplementing resources and materials to teachers.
Okay.
And I can also answer some of the standards they have to look at is that they comply with the current standards. That's one of the requirements in the statute.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Maybe you answered this while I was talking to the superintendent. Have we looked at getting these things in electronic format? So, I mean, all the schools, was that answered? Was that asked and answered? So,
but we can address
instead of buying all these books my grandson carries a backpack around that must weigh 60 pounds with all the books in it. I mean, can't we figure out a way? I mean, every kid now has all the schools have all the equipment, so why aren't we putting this stuff on digital media?
We do have electronic, Ms. Fenner, you want to?
So all of the books actually come with electronic versions, and more for our textbooks, they are going to, many of the materials being offered electronically, with the student-facing materials that they actually hold being more workbook format. We did that with our instructional materials adoption for science, which started this year. So what the students have is more of a workbook format, so it's not as heavy for them to hold, but they still have the full breadth of resources available to them using technology. And we see that for many, not all, but for many of our math materials as well, into a workbook form. And in order to even make it easier for students carrying it, you'll see for the elementary and in some of the middle school courses, the workbook comes in two pieces. So for the first part, they have the first half of the workbook, and then they swap to the second part of the workbook for the second. So it's not even such a big workbook for them to carry around. So we're trying to keep all of those considerations in format when we do that, and the publishers don't even charge more for using two workbooks. So we are thinking of all of those pieces as we go through this process.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Andrews?
Thank you. So you said that the material will be in the board office. So will somebody from your office be available to kind of walk us through and chat with us? All we have to do is just call your office and you'll send somebody up?
Absolutely. If we want to set up meetings, we will have staff there.
Okay, great.
Any other comments? Dr. Fennoy?
Mr. Chair, if I could take a point of privilege. So in reference to the last speaker, I want to make it clear for the public that when a person that is under our employment is accused, and let me be clear, the board can't respond to this, but I can. When a person is accused, we immediately begin investigations in our district. We do not let any accusations go uninvestigated. And between our police department and our HR department and all of the people that we employ that do these investigations, if a person is convicted and found guilty of a crime, we will not have them with our children. And so let me be really clear that we do not ignore these things. And if a person has been convicted and found guilty of these crimes, that we do not allow them to be with our children. And so let me be really clear that we have thoroughly investigated some of the accusations brought forward by speakers today. And we are very comfortable that the investigations were done completely.
Thank you. Any further comments? So we need a motion to adjourn, please, somebody?
So moved.
All of you? Second? We have another meeting, so don't go anywhere. We're not done. We're not done. All in favor? All opposed? This meeting's adjourned, and we'll call the next one to order.